alaikum. Mohammed Hanif is living proof that sometimes telling the truth through fiction is easier than telling it through facts. He is also a practicing journalist in one of the world's most dangerous places to be a journalist, Pakistan. And his third claim to fame is, of course, that he is one of our most prominent and provocative novelists. A Case of Exploding Mangoes told the tale of the late Ziaul Haq, who died in a mysterious air crash. Few, of course, believed that it was an accident, and it gave rise to a lot of conspiracies and conspiracy theories. The book went on to win the Commonwealth Writers' Prize in 2008, was a finalist for the Guardian's First Book Award, and was longlisted for the Booker. However, Hanif himself calls A Case of Exploding Mangoes, and I quote him, "It was a failed journalist's revenge." What exactly did you mean by that, Hanif?
God. I have no idea what I was talking about when I said that. But I think what I was trying to do as a sort of young, the journalists are kind of, they're ambitious and they're mean and they're lazy. That's why they become journalists. It's a very lethal combination when you're ambitious and lazy. So I was one of those ambitious and lazy journalists. So I was trying to investigate that, we had a president. The guy was around for 11 years. I'm sure many of you kind of grew up watching him on TV because he was the only thing on TV, mostly. So he dies. So we say that a murder has happened. And somebody should tell us that who killed this guy. And there were some 7, 8 other generals, and
yes.
And his honored guest, the U.S. ambassador, was also on the plane. So I thought somebody should tell us that what happened, who killed all these people. I think as a nation, we were quite relieved that he's gone, good riddance, why do we need to know that who killed him? But still, in a society, even if a bad person dies, we need to know that who killed him. But it was quite fascinating for me that actually nobody cared, including, his own family. His son was in government for, I think, 10, 12 years. And even he never kind of, pushed that, who killed my dad type thing. But I was interested as a journalist, so I tried to investigate it. I interviewed, a bunch of retired generals, State Department types. And I think within a couple of weeks I knew that I can live 1,000 years and I will never find out that who killed him, because there were cover-ups to cover the cover-ups, and then so on and so forth. So that complete lack of kind of interest that we don't really want to know, but people had everybody had a theory that so I failed as a journalist, and I said, okay, when a crime has happened, and we're not interested in finding out that who did it. But we have so many theories, so I haven't been able to do it as a journalist. So what if I raise my hand and say, look, maybe I did it?
And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, that's so it started as a little joke, which kind of yeah.
But some of your politically activist friends who had suffered at the dictator's hands were very upset with you because they thought you presented him, Ziaul Haq that is, like a Homer Simpson kind of figure.
Yeah, without the beard though. No. Yeah, I think you kind of live with a character for year after year after year after year, and you might kind of start out thinking that, oh, you're writing about a monster. But when you kind of live with them, like for 5-6 years, which I did, although why did I need to do it? I mean, it was hard enough to get rid of him. And then I was sitting at my desk every day thinking about General Zia. So that kind of, I think, makes them human. If you spend long enough time with anybody, I think you start to see, like, some humanity in them.
As you yourself put it, you have to get into the character's head. Did you manage to do that?
I thought about it. I struggled for a very long time. And obviously, it's like something that writers just say, that I got into somebody's head. How can you get into somebody's head? You can't. So there's another way of doing it. So I was stuck for about a year thinking about General Zia. What a sad life I must have had. That's what I was doing. Then I said, why don't I just barge into his bedroom? So that's what I did. I said, I can't get into his head. Let me get into his bedroom and see.
And did you manage?
See, like, what happens then. So I think that's how I got to know him, because I just opened the door and went into his bedroom. I still haven't got into his head though. Although I think he is in all of our
collectively.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was like failed journalist revenge, and I think what we're living is a dead general's revenge. I think that's what the state of the nation.
But then I believe you received a phone call from a member of the family saying, मैं देखता मेरे वालिद जिंदा होते कि तुम ये किताब कैसे लिखते.
जो कि बिल्कुल सही बात है. जो मतलब अगर वो जिंदा होते तो मैं क्यों लिखता. कोई भी
Now, your second book, which is Our Lady of Alice Bhatti, is a book very much like life, isn't it? It's a comedy for some and a tragedy for others. Alice spends her entire life waiting for real miracles, and in your words, and I quote you, the real miracles she's talking about are like the drains shall remain unclogged or the hungry shall be fed. Those are miracles that you're looking for from Our Lady of Alice Bhatti, are you?
I mean, she does perform a lot of miracles because she does, which is kind of, when we are sick or when we are born or when we are dying, we need somebody to take care of us. We need people to relieve us of our pains. We need somebody to kind of, inject us with something. And she does a lot of everyday miracles, and there are, like, sort of lots and lots and lots of people like that. I mean, she's a woman in nursing profession, and I think they are really, I mean, kind of God's little angels who take care of us when we kind of, sort of need them the most, when we are very, very vulnerable or when we are in kind of excruciating pain. So I think that is a miracle, and she kind of does that, but she doesn't get like the ordinary life, like, sort of to have a lover, or to have a husband who cares for you, or to have a family, or to have a world which kind of gives you, lets you be. So she's waiting for that kind of miracle, which doesn't happen, and I was thinking about it recently, that what has happened with us now is that who are the people who are kind of being targeted and killed, like in the most bizarre places, and what exactly are they trying to do? They're trying to put like 2 drops of vaccine in your mouth, in a baby's mouth, so that you will have your kind of limbs together, and we hunt them down, sort of, and you will say, okay, but we don't hunt them down, there's some other people hunt them down, but whose responsibility it is to protect them? Do we? said, oh well, it's just like, sort of some random 200 rupees a day worker who is kind of, trying to do that thing. So there are lots and lots and lots
Eke out a living and do some good along with it.
Yes.
Well, I must confess, the only Alice I was familiar with was the one who disappeared down a rabbit hole and met a blue caterpillar, among other things. But this Alice and the appendage of the Bhatti name, it rings some bells with your first editor, Razia Bhatti, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and because she was a miracle woman as well. I worked, she taught me how to write, she taught me how to love, which is like, no editor in the world teaches you. That's something that editors don't care about much. Journalists, as I said, are kind of lazy and selfish people, but she was one of those extraordinary people who will not only tell you where to put a comma, but also teach you how to be nice to a girl. That is a rare kind of teacher. You don't. So I was lucky that I worked with her. But Bhatti came in because I have lots of some friends who are Bhattis, and they're very annoying. So
So that's revenge again.
Yeah, that's revenge again. Yeah. Basically, I'm kind of sitting on my desk plotting my revenge. That's what I do for a living. Yeah.
He's on record as saying, well, I put everything down on paper and then I destroy everything. So be careful, don't cross him. My feeling is that we need to introduce Alice to our audience. And with your permission, I'm going to read a short excerpt from Alice Bhatti. This is Alice appearing for an interview. Less than 3 minutes in front of the interview panel, and Alice Bhatti knows in her heart that she is not likely to get the job advertised as replacement junior nurse, grade 4. A sharp tingling in the back of her neck warns her that not getting the job might not even be the worst thing that could happen here. No questions have been asked yet, but she knows that all the preparation, her starched white uniform, the new file, a faint smudge of mud brown lipstick, breathing exercises she's done to control her jumpy heart, even the banana she ate on the bus to stop her stomach from rumbling, all seems like wasted investment. Halal money down the haram drain, as her father Joseph Bhatti put it. These Muslims will make you clean their shit and then complain that you stink, he had said. And our own brothers at the sacred, they will educate you and then ask you why you stink. She's been in this room before, but is dreading the prospect of sitting down on a chair and talking. She has always stood here and taken her orders. Have you cleaned the floor, Alice? Why do you not clean the floor? Who do you think will clean that floor? Your father? The room itself is a monument to pharmaceutical merchandising. The orange wall clock from GlaxoSmithKline, the wall calendar with blonde models in various stages of migraine from Pfizer pain management systems, the box of pink tissues promising dry days, dry nights. She has an odd sensation of overhearing a conversation that she's meant to overhear. She thinks maybe this conversation is part of the recruitment exercise, and she'll be asked her views later, and she should pay attention. The head of the orthopedic unit only brings up words like professional and Canadian immigration when he's angry. Ortho sir is very angry now. I am a professional. He pulls out a pink tissue from the dry nights box and pats the bald patch on his head. The grey diamond-shaped mark on his forehead is a testament to his 5 times a day prayer routine, but his designer goatee belongs in some kafir fantasy. My job is to cure people, to cure them at the worst of times. I don't decide when someone is going to die. He does. He raises his forefinger towards the ceiling. Alice Bhatti looks at the ceiling fan in confusion. Put your faith in Phillips, it says. Now, Hanif, you said
Sounds so much better when you read it.
Bless.
Really, yes.
Hanif actually lends his voice so well to dramatic reading. I've been doing that pretty often. What I want to know is, here you are, and you say you're writing a love story, and it's a cast of really strange characters. There's Teddy Butt, whom we in our Punjabi would call Teddy Butt, who's a thigh-waxing goon. He's Muslim. There's Joseph Bhatti, Alice's father, who belongs to, and I'm going to use a very politically incorrect word, a Chura community. But and this is a word that Hanif uses very often throughout the text, unabashedly. And then there's Alice herself. My question is, did you consciously set out to write a novel depicting women and minorities in Pakistan, or did it just happen?
If I was interested in women, I would kind of, or minorities. I'm a journalist, I'll write like a 1,200 word piece about it, which sometimes I do. So no, that's not how it works for me. As I said, you have to, year after year after year after year, you have to engage with these people. And if you were interested in issues, as I said, you will kind of, join PTI or Taliban or something like that. Sort of do something about it. I mean, sitting at your desk every day, if I cared about minorities, why would I just lock myself up and sit on the desk like year after year, worrying about minorities? I should just go out and do something about them. So no, that's not how it works for me. I was stuck, locked up with Alice in a room for a very long time, and friends would ask me, what are you writing about? And I said, I'm writing a novel about a nurse, and they would say, where is it based? I said, she actually hasn't left the room yet, so I don't know. She's still in the room. So one day, kind of, she decides to leave the room, and then obviously I have to follow her. And where does she go? She goes to a house, and it was quite common. It has changed now that there was a time when most of the nurses in Pakistan were women and Christians.
Catholics.
Catholics. Not too
most
long.
of them.
Yes. Not too. Now it's a very competitive profession.
Yes.
There are men and women from all kinds of sort of religions and castes. So I was interested in Alice not as somebody that I had to live with for a very long time. So I don't think kind of writing novels is a good way of caring about minorities. You can just go and kind of protect them or be nice to them or just pay them kind of
a good wage.
Yes, yeah. So that wasn't my concern.
Well, the love you write about happens in prisons and hospitals and police stations. What kind of a world do you inhabit?
I live in Pakistan, I guess. and not in Lahore. So I guess that probably makes a difference. I think there are lots of people in jails, in dungeons, are kind of state runs kind of dungeons, kidnaps its own sons, tortures them, and sort of all you need to do is just pick up your local paper and look at the city pages, and if you, on any given day, if you don't find a woman kind of reaching some horrible end, by usually her kind of lover or brother or father, it will be a good day, but those good days are actually quite rare.
Very few.
Very few, yeah.
Well, I have to confess, when I heard that I was going to be talking to you for the second time in a year,
yes.
It's a great pleasure, I reread Alice Bhatti. And we'd recently been celebrating Manto's centenary. And I found more than a few shades of Manto, and then I came across this wonderful piece that a lot of people may not be familiar with, what you had written on Manto. And with your permission, I'm going to read that
Please,
out.
yes.
So,
isn't she great? I mean, I don't have to read, she reads my stuff, and so brilliantly. I love her. Absolutely. Yes, yes.
Hanif starts with, congratulations on your 100th anniversary. What's there to celebrate, you ask? I'm dead. And why are you, the judges of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, my eternal tormentors, celebrating my birthday? Well, if you were writing today, and especially if you were writing in English, you could go to all the literary festivals and drink all the free booze you wanted. But they probably wouldn't invite you. Because before and after drinking their booze, you'd rant against the festival organizers, you'd raise questions about the sponsor's parentage, just like you maligned us judges. No. This is not an apology on behalf of the Islamic Republic's judiciary. Just some observations, clarifications, and we're sure you still hate it. Some literary advice. Now, can we ask you what this obsession was with human anatomy and edible birds? Why, sir, did you like to peer at poor women's armpits and describe them in gory detail? While describing Sogandhi, in your notorious short story, Hattak, you tell us, her armpit looked as if a piece of plucked chicken skin had been placed there. Did it occur to you that you might be spoiling your reader's dinner? And although we didn't mention it in our verdict, do you have any idea how offensive it sounds? Plucked. Your problem, Manto sir, was that you weren't satisfied with mentioning one haram thing per story. Now, you were Maulana, and this is Chirag Hasan Hasrat, you were Maulana's apprentice. Didn't you learn anything from him? Maulana wrote a piece called Kele Ka Chilka, which students are taught in schools because, as you know, it's sensible, gentle humor. You step on a banana peel, you fall, others laugh, nobody gets hurt. So that is part of Maulana's revenge on you. His Kele Ka Chilka is part of the national curriculum. You, on the other hand, still continue to pose a clear and present danger to our collective morality. And after contemplating for half a century, we've realized that it might have something to do with your insistence on calling a shalwar. You seem particularly puzzled that why our honorable courts would object to your short story called Kali Shalwar, in which a down-on-her-luck prostitute, again a prostitute, I think we need to update you on that, Sultana wants a black shalwar to observe Muharram. We didn't have a problem with the fact that she wanted to observe Ashura, although that would be a problem now. She might get killed before she can score that shalwar. And you thought you lived in turbulent times. It's all about shalwar, stupid. You were born in Punjab and came back to live in Lahore. You should have had better sense. You should have called it Kali Sari, Kali skirt. You might even have got away with a black gharara. But when you say shalwar, we immediately think of our sisters, our mothers, our wives, and our neighbors' daughters, sisters, and their shalwars. not clear enough in our judgments that you kept bickering and insisting that you have the right to say the word breast in Urdu? And your justification is what? That it's there? Who do you think you are? Sir Edmund Hillary? This is a family magazine. And despite your provocations, we will not allow a discussion on the subject of breasts. Can we just reiterate that it doesn't matter whether that breast is attached to a Musalman Sharif aurat, a Jewish Avara aurat, a film star, a prostitute, a dead woman. We don't care if it's not even attached to its owner anymore. It's still a breast. Over the centuries, your favorite and now our national language has evolved dozens of ways of describing this bit of anatomy without actually naming it. Just look at the variety of soft fruits deployed by your contemporaries in this context and learn. Hanif, my question to you is, what is this obsession with the female anatomy? You describe Alice's boobs as two puppies cuddling together.
Listen, Naveed, you're being very naughty. You could have asked me what is this obsession with puppies or dogs. Yeah, I'm interested in puppies. Lots of research has gone into it. I have still two dogs. So yeah, they kind of crop up dogs in my books because I'm interested in them.
Your prostitute sleeps with a flea-ridden dog, doesn't
That
she?
is Manto's prostitute, yeah. Mine are I don't have any prostitutes. Not yet, yeah.
Would you like to?
I mean, I think that would involve a lot of research, and I think at my age, I don't think I can afford
Well,
that.
your wife might have something to say about that.
I'm sure she will.
It's very strange. Alice's world is a savage, violent world. And yet in this very necrotic world comes this tender shoot of love between a Muslim and a Christian.
Right.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say, मतलब जितना फर्क मुसलमान और क्रिश्चियन में होता है, I think उससे ज़्यादा फर्क मर्द और औरत में होता है. Sort of they're kind of completely, and they sort of usually at some point in their lives, lucky ones more than once, they do fall in love. So I'm not trying to say anything that hasn't been done by everybody. Over and over again, so it's not very strange. I think it's completely it's the most normal thing.
No. I have to stop you right there.
Okay.
You are on record as having said, love, and this is very biblical. Love is the first transgression.
I think it is. Is it in the Bible or no?
Well,
you can't blame me for writing the Bible. It's God's word. I'm just quoting him.
Well, I think on a more serious note, because you are two people in one. There's the journalist with his acerbic wit, and there is this novelist who is an absolutely wonderful exponent of Pakistan, all its lunacy and madness. There is something which is important to you personally, and that's the story of the missing Baloch.
So what is the question?
Well, my question is, do you want to talk about the missing Baloch?
Not really. I will say last year, there was Sunday, It was 10 o'clock in the morning. I had a session about a little book that I've written, a pamphlet more like it. It's called The Baloch Who Is Missing, Who Is Not Missing, and Others Who Are. And lots of nice people turned up, just like you. And then the people that I had written about, they were in Lahore, I think 8 to 10 days ago. And they have, so I've just flown in, sort of, मैं जहाज पे बैठ के आऊँ, वो थोड़े और तरह के लोग हैं, because उनके बच्चे गायब हैं, कुछ के मार दिए गए, तो वो पैदल चल पड़े. कोयटा से पहले कराची आए, और वहाँ से अभी they are going to Islamabad. So they were in Lahore in the hope कि हम शहरों से गुजरेंगे, गाँव से गुजरेंगे, हम लोगों को बताएंगे, क्योंकि मीडिया नहीं कवर करता उसको ज़्यादा.
क्यों नहीं कवर करता?
इसलिए कि वो पंजाबी नहीं है और तालिबान नहीं है. मैंने मोहम्मद कदीर उनका नाम, तो मेरा ख्याल है कि 40-50 जो नौजवान हैं लाहौर के, जाके वो उनसे मिले होंगे. तो ये वैसे what is strange is that you can come to the festival and kind of listen to us talking about them, but when they kind of walk for about कितने, मेरा ख्याल है कोई 2.5 महीने पैदल चल के यहाँ पे लाहौर पे पहुँचे होंगे, तो you don't want to go and just say hi, like कि भाई क्या मसला आपका. So I did give Mohammed Hanif उनका नाम. He's a grand old man, the most civilized man I've seen in Pakistan. पाकिस्तान में प्रोटेस्ट करने के अपने राइट्स के लिए बहुत सारे तरीके होते हैं कि आप sort of पहाड़ों पे बंदूक लेके बैठ जाएं या आप जाके कहीं पे करें. So and this has never happened in subcontinent history कि इतने दिनों तक को बंदा पैदल चला हो सिर्फ ये कहने के लिए कि भाई एक मेरा बेटा था, वो आपने मार दिया है, मुझे उसका इंसाफ चाहिए, और साथ ही मेरी लड़कियां, the young girls, just like some of you, they kind of for in Quetta University they've had to abandon their education, कि भाई मेरा एक भाई है, उसका नाम जाकिर मजीद है, वो तुमने इस दिन उठाया था, ये पूरा रिकॉर्ड है, this is the whole paper trail, and I want him back. And what am I going to do to get him back? I will walk, I will come to you, to every city, every town, and tell you that sort of कि ये जुल्म जो है ये मत करो. So I don't think there's kind of anything more civilized, I don't think there's anything more honorable than what they do. And I did tell Mohammed Hanif उनका नाम है, so मैंने एक दफा उनको मशवरा दिया था, because as I said कि मीडिया कवरेज नहीं देता. He's a stubborn old man, बात नहीं सुनते. मैंने कहा था कि अपना नाम चेंज करके आप मौलाना कदीर अगर रख लें तो सारे आपके पीछे आधा लाहौर चल पड़ेगा. लेकिन वो ज़ाहिर नहीं मानते. He's a good Muslim, but he just doesn't believe kind of in some of the things that we believe in.
Well, Hanif, the print media has certainly taken up issue on behalf of the missing Baloch, but there's a deafening silence as far as the electronic media is concerned. How does one go about doing anything about that?
I mean, आप लोग कितने लोग हैं? I'm sure some of you are journalists, some of you sort of are in political parties, so just talk to your friends, and if your dad owns a channel, just tell him to kind of sort it out, that kind of thing we should do. And if you're a writer or interested in writing or interested in kind of knowing about them, then go and meet them. They're still like between Lahore and Islamabad. So गुजरात से गुजर गए, खुदा का शुक्र है, वहाँ पे गुजरात से आगे नहीं जाने देंगे उनको. So yeah, I mean we can't just blame the kind of the government or the state or the media. We are kind of we are citizens, and they're kind of
Now, Hanif, on the one hand, you say that a novelist doesn't really have anything to do with politics, but you on the other hand, in your first book, you mock a dictator. In your second book, you talk about something as inflammatory as relationships between Muslims and Christians. So what kind of a role do you define for yourself? Have you thought about a role for yourself? Because you sound very much like a tourist guide.
I'll be a very bad tourist guide. No, I have many other roles. You're not just a journalist and a writer. You kind of, when you cook for your family, you kind of, take the dog out for a walk. You hang out with friends. You kind of, you worry about the world you live in. And you worry about kind of, that your kid is kind of spending too much money and how am I going to make it. So we have like lots of roles. And I think writing a novel is kind of just a way of running away from all those roles, because you can sit on your desk and say कि आज खाना नहीं पकेगा क्योंकि मैं किताब लिख रहा हूँ. So I think that's what you do, and you can't really begin to worry about your role because there's something that needs to be done, like every
the
day.
Day-to-day tedium of life.
You can call it tedium, but that is all there is to life. And to make it more interesting, you go to your desk and you make stuff up and then hope that somebody will read it one day, and then you will get invited to a festival and meet Naveed Shahzad, who will read your stuff in a lovely voice, and then life would seem like sort of that okay, yeah.
But I'm very curious. There's a strand in Our Lady that you have not developed. Almost towards the beginning, you talk about Alice and you say that she had the capacity to look at a person's face and tell them how they were going to die. And I kept waiting for that strand to emerge somewhere in the book, and it doesn't really. Why did you drop it? Because it was amazing, I thought. How wonderful to have that ability.
Yeah, I should have, but I forgot.
Okay. Now, you talked in terms of women and the daily brutality that their lives face. Is there any hope for optimism somewhere along the way? Or is it just going to be that effed up world that you talk about all the time?
ये फैसला तो लाहौर वाले करेंगे कि हमारी जिंदगियों में कोई optimism है या नहीं है. I'm sitting.
No, you personally have. Are you personally optimistic?
I think writing a novel, as somebody pointed out yesterday, a sort of a brilliant journalist, that actually writing a novel is an act of hope. And first I didn't get it, but then I did, because you go to your desk, you have no idea, you're on page 15, you have no idea what's going to happen on the next page, you have no idea what your character is going to do or not do. But you still go to your desk, you still have that notebook in front of you, and you still sit there hoping that something will happen. And for months and months it doesn't, but one day it does. And sometime it again doesn't, and then you make stuff up. So I think, that is the kind of hope I'm talking about. It doesn't sound very hopeful, but that's like a blank page is frightening. It's scary.
Yeah.
But you live in hope that you will put something down on it, and that will mean something. Mostly it doesn't. Like it ends up in the dustbin or like in the trash file on the computer that you have there. But some days,
What are your reading influences?
Oh, I am very. I read newspapers mostly, op-eds, खास तौर पे उर्दू अखबारों के. तो मुझे बड़ी खुशी हुई जब हुकूमत ने इरफान सिद्दीकी साहब को नामजद किया अपना तालिबान से बात करने के लिए. Because I read Urdu columnist writers, and some of them are very good, and some of them have like a lot of flair, and they write, some of them write utter nonsense, but लेकिन इतनी शान से कि मतलब पढ़ने में मजा आता है. Now, Irfan Siddiqui is the dullest of the lot, right? I mean, really, kind of even sort of a newspaper addict like me have to kind of wade through it. So I was, for a few days, I was very hopeful that नवाज शरीफ ने बड़ा सियाना काम किया है कि ये भेजेगा इरफान सिद्दीकी को उनके पास और वो बोलना शुरू करेगा और वो बोर होके डल होके हाथ मांगेगी कि छोड़ हमारी जान छोड़ दो. But वो again that was like, a false hope that didn't kind of, it's like, they're not interested.
We're talking about language, and this is going to be my last question to you, and then we're going to throw the floor open for some questions if anybody is interested in asking them. You're very self-deprecating about the fact that you can write and read 3.5 languages badly. Which are those?
उर्दू, अंग्रेजी, पंजाबी और अरबी, चूंकि हम मुसलमान हैं तो मैं आधी पढ़ लेता हूँ पूरी आधी.
Well, on that note, I'd like to throw the gauntlet to the audience. If there are any questions for Hanif, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them.
हाँ, उससे पहले मैं एक बात कर दूं, मुझे किसी ने बताया, हाँ, नहीं वो आप स्पॉन्सर्स की बात कर रहे थे ना, तो इनके इसमें है एक बैंक है, कौन सा नाम है, अच्छा सा बैंक, नॉट समिट, अल्फला. हाँ, वो कोई लिटरेरी प्राइज देते हैं. तो मेरे एक दोस्त है, उनको कोई प्राइज उन्होंने कोई पिछले साल अनाउंस किया था, तो वो अभी तक उसको मिला नहीं. तो आप में से कोई अल्फला बैंक वाला है तो खुदा का खौफ करो. अली अकबर नातिक उनका नाम है, तो उनको प्लीज जाके पहुंचा दें. ऐसे तो बड़ी आपकी नवाजिश, मेहरबानी होगी.
You certainly chose the right platform for that. Yes, are there any questions?
Yes, my name is Hassan Zulfikar and I'm in my A-levels, and I read your book, A Case of Exploding Mangoes, and whenever I read it, I kept thinking to myself, up to what extent is it a fact, like the story? Up to what extent is it true? Yeah.
I mean, there are no facts in it. I mean, really, if you're looking for facts, like, you need to go somewhere else. That's really. And don't it's not a history book. I've told many kids that it is not a history book. और ये आप तो A-level के student हैं, माशाल्लाह बहुत ज़हीन है, किताबें पढ़ते हैं. मुझे एक दफ़ा एक जो ISI के साबिक चीफ थे, वो कहीं पे मुझे मिले, तो उन्होंने मेरे कंधे पे हाथ रखा, मुझे लगेगा कि बेटा, son, you've written a brilliant book. Now tell me who are your sources. I was like scary. You were running this country. You should know better. If you believe the shit that I write, what else do you believe in?
But that's a very scary thought.
I was really scared. I was like, yeah.
That makes sense. That makes it authentic. That means that they actually knew what you had written was true. And by the way, the family that had the problem with the book wasn't Zia's family. It was the other general's family. I spoke to some of the family members and they wanted to sue you. But the most interesting thing is people seem to have simply not noticed that you have talked more about the other generals' shenanigans, compared to what Zia did. Zia, you actually made Zia rare and likable. Zia,
somebody had to do it.
You made the other general come alive in I started to look at things differently.
Any other questions?
Yes.
We have it.
Yes, my name is Ghazala Anur, and I want to actually ask you to comment on the role of animals in the case of exploding mangoes. I found it very...
The role of, sorry?
Animals.
Okay.
The crow, and the snake whose poison is used, and the whale.
Yeah.
And as an animal rights person, one who loves animals dearly,
Right.
I was very, very touched by that. And I felt that they were real characters, especially the crow, and how he flies over to the other territory, and the mentioning of the Brahmini, whatever the Brahmini eagles, who don't know the dietary laws. So I wonder if there is any sort, at least I read a subtext of bringing up, including in our environment and context, animals as persons, as characters.
Thank you so much. This is the best compliment I've ever had. Right? Yes, it's an animal rights novel. Yeah, that's what I write. But there are like lots of there are lots of kind of dogs and other kind of sort of things that that keep appearing. Because sometimes, actually, to tell you the truth, I mean they are more interesting than some of the human beings that we know. Kind of that kind of.
That's the last question there.
I just wanted to ask, मैं आप जो literature festivals जितने भी शहरों में हुए हैं, I've had the pleasure of attending your sessions. Pakistan में लोग at literature sessions, why do they do the I don't have a question but a comment question? And if that question is too frivolous, could you just recommend some books that inspired you while you were writing?
Inspiration for writing books.
I think you should read whatever you like reading. Since most of my life now I spend in literary festivals, so some kid in Karachi Literary Festival asked me to recommend one book that one must read. And I immediately had this reaction कि नहीं, कम से कम 2 किताबें ज़रूर पढ़नी चाहिए. एक किताब पढ़ने से मसले हो जाते हैं. तो मैं भी आपसे यही कहूँगा कि आप जो भी आपको पसंद है वो पढ़े और उसके बाद एक किताब कम से कम ज़रूर और पढ़ें. एक पे नहीं छोड़ना चाहिए.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you, Hanif, for a wonderful afternoon.